Okay, back to continue the story. But first, another beer. Yeah, same. Latitude 33 Blood Orange India Pale Ale from Trader Joe's. When I left, this is not good. This is not a good look, Ben. When I left you last, we were near the end of our first year in Los Angeles, and I was working at the House of Blues. I'd moved to LA because I wanted to work in movies, and I didn't have any skills. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always wanted to direct things. I've always seen things in pictures, you know. I've always had ideas for stories in my head. Always kind of wanted to be a director. I also thought, well, maybe, you know, like what seems to be the lowest barrier of entry? Maybe being in front of the camera. I know now that like that might be harder than anything. That's like so hard. But so I was just like open to everything, right? And right about, I don't know, maybe it would have been September. So just about 11 months or so into my stay in LA, September of 2000, I heard about an open call for extras for an epic World War II movie starring Nicolas Cage, directed by John Woo. John Woo did all those Hong Kong movies from the 90s, like The Killer, all those Chow Yun-Fat movies, which are so iconic and amazing. Now he's doing an epic, super epic, big budget Hollywood movie starring Nicolas Cage about World War II. Are you kidding me? Open call for extras, and just like on a whim, I went. I'd never been to anything like this before in my life. And I'm just like, let's go. Let's see what that's all about. And I go down there, and it's like at this place in North Hollywood. We go in there, and this lady, I think her name was Tammy. It doesn't matter. I can't remember now, but she was like a casting director for movies, for extras. She gets up there and she does this spiel, and she's like, okay, the movie's been shooting in Hawaii for a month. Now we're coming back to LA to shoot the remaining 3 months of the movie. And we need a whole bunch of extras because we're going to do these big epic battle scenes. And we need like 100 American soldiers. We need 100 Japanese soldiers because it's about World War II in the Pacific, the Marines fighting the Japanese. She goes, now, we just need 100 of each. And so, you know, like that casts a pretty big net. She goes, but, excuse me, I'm burping because of all this beer. She's like, for the Americans and for the Japanese, we're going to have what we call the core group of each. We're going to have a core group of American 25 people. They're going to get paid slightly more, and they are going to fill out the members of our hero platoon. And they are going to be shooting actually blank firing weapons. The rest of the 100 extras will be like in the deep background with rubber guns and things and running around. And then of course there'll be stunt actors and real actors. And on the Japanese side, yes, there's going to be a whole bunch of extras, general extras. There's also going to be a Japanese core group that will be shooting real blank firing weapons and will be close in on the close combat and things like that. Now, to be part of the core groups, you need to have prior military experience because you'll be using actual weapons. You get paid a little bit more, and you'll be working every day for the next 3 months, so it'll be a good job. So I hear all this, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't really want to just be a general extra deep in the background and like making $100 a day and like working, you know, maybe a couple days a week or something for a few months. Like, I don't really care. What is being an extra going to get me like in Hollywood? Like, who cares? But I was like, man, that'd be cool to be part of that core group because you're like close to the action and you're in there, you're like next to the actors, you get real weapons. So everyone kind of like, she does her spiel and you have to fill out like a little thing and check some boxes and everyone starts to kind of disperse, and I'm just there, and You guys, listen, it was really weird. I had this little voice in my head and it was like, go talk to her. Go talk to her. And I'm like, but I haven't been in the military. Just go talk to her. So I'm like, okay, Ben, I'm doing it. So I go up and I'm like, hey, my name's Ben. I'm from Alaska. I just moved here. I'm pretty much, this is exactly what I said to her. I said, I'm pretty much only interested in being in the core group. I said, look, I haven't been in the military, okay? I haven't served. I said, but I'm an expert in period weaponry. You guys don't do, whatever. That's what I said. I don't even know where that came from. You know why I said that? Growing up, we had this family friend. We have friends Mike and Cherry that we'd go to the mountains with and live with, and they had horses, and they were like, Cherry was my mom's best friend and Michael was her husband. Michael was a little older, much older than me, of course. I was a little kid, but Michael had been in Vietnam. He was of that generation. And he had a World War II era M1 carbine, which is like a little short submachine gun, meaning it's not fully automatic, but it's like as many times you can pull the trigger, it'll fire. It's got a little magazine. He had one of those. It's a small caliber submachine gun. So that was the weapon that he used in the jungle in Vietnam. He was like, did some of the sneaky stuff, and he was like a paratrooper, was shot several times, really gnarly. Michael's like family to me. So, but he would let me shoot that weapon sometimes, and I'm not like a gun nut or anything, but I kind of want to own one of those because they're cool little guns. And so I'd shot an M1 carbine a whole bunch. It's a World War II era weapon. So I just like pulled that out of my butt, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an expert on World War II era. Like I have extensive experience with World War II era weaponry. I said something like that, and she's like, okay. And then I went and I filled out my little paper, and I was like, checked the little box, interested in the core group, and then I went back to work at the House of Blues and working at the climbing wall, and I've kind of forgot about it. And then a week later she called and she's like, hey Ben, this is Tammy. You really made an impression when you came up and talked to me, and I just have a good feeling about you. And even though you haven't been in the military before, I really vouched to you. I vouched for you to our military technical advisors, and I convinced them to bring you on to the core group, because it was actually the military technical advisors who are in charge of the core group that had a say on who it got to be. Well, this casting director vouched for me because I said I was an expert at period weaponry, which I was not. I'm not saying this is what you got to do to get ahead, guys. So she's like, you have a slot in the core group if you want to do it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to quit the House of Blues. I guess I got to quit working at the climbing wall. I guess I got to learn about World War II era weaponry because I said I was an expert. What did I do? I called up my friend Chuck, who was worked at an armory, the biggest armory of military like weapons for movies in the world. My friend who I climb with worked there. Like, how crazy is that? So I'm like, hey Chuck, dude, I just got this job working on this movie Windtalkers. He goes, oh yeah, we rented them a whole bunch of guns. I know what they have. I'm like, well, I told him I was an expert. He goes, great. He goes, come on down to the shop. Excuse me, this beer makes me burp. He goes, come on down to the shop and we'll get you tuned up. So I went down there. It's in North Hollywood. I spent like a whole half of a day down there. He just brings out this tray, all the weapons for the movie. There's like a BAR, Browning automatic rifle, this huge machine gun. Thompson submachine guns, M1 Garands, M1 carbines, 1911, Browning 1911 pistols. He just laid them all out, taught me how to take them all apart, put them back together, and then I fired them all with blanks in their indoor range. And I left there and I was like, I know a lot about these guns. Like I can take them apart. I know how to load them. I know how to use them. Like you know, I know how to use them. Holy crap, that's wild. Then I go to a fitting. Then I got to go to a 2-day boot camp. So there's like an armor, a different guy than my friend Chuck. This guy, should I say his name? He's a really famous guy in Hollywood, was the armor, did like The Matrix and did all these big movies. He was obnoxious. And then there's 2 ex-Marines who are the military technical advisors. One of these guys I'm still friends with, like on Facebook, whatever. He likes my posts on Facebook sometimes. This guy, Jim Devers, he's went on to do huge movies. Like he's done movies for Clint Eastwood, did some World War II movies. This guy's done big Hollywood movies for the last, 25 years, but he was the military technical advisor. So I go to a wardrobe fitting, and then I go to like a 2-day boot camp with these other 25 dudes. And the 25 Japanese dudes. So there's like 50 of us, I think. I think it was that many people. I'm the only civilian. And pretty soon it's like this military culture. There's these technical advisors who are in charge and teaching everyone like tactics and how to have fire teams. They're all Marines, right? They're Marines in the movie, and the technical advisors are Marines. And most of the guys that got the jobs are Marines, few Navy guys, few Army guys, but most of them are Marines. So we go out, they give us weapons, they show us how to shoot these M1 Garands, which is what most people have. A few guys have BARs. I already know how to use all these. They actually didn't teach me anything new that I didn't already know, and I actually knew more than what they taught us. It was pretty cool. My buddy Chuck really hooked me up. And then we go out and we were taught how to like move in fire teams, which all these Marine dudes already knew. We got yelled at for like 2 days. It was kind of fun. Yeah, it was fun. And all these military dudes, this is 2000. This is literally 10 months before 9/11. It's 10 months before 9/11. The US hasn't been involved in a major war since Vietnam. It's been, we've had conflicts all over the world, but it's like a lot of these guys are veterans. They're all veterans. They've all had military service. None of them have really been in combat or been in war. Once 9/11 hit, a lot of these guys would go on to like re-enlist and go on and fight. And then later on, I ended up working with some of these guys again. A couple of these guys I'm still friends with to this day. But I was the only civilian, and that was known pretty quickly. And I was a little bit of an outsider. But we did 2 days of boot camp. We did some mock battles, shot some blank fired, M1 Garands, and then it's time to shoot. And they had been shooting the movie in Hawaii, but it was really expensive. And so then they decided, well, we're going to come back to LA and we can make it cheaper in LA. And we're going to finish it in these certain locations. And so we shot in Malibu at this a Marine base that's out there, this military base that's out north of Malibu. Was the first place we shot. I remember the very first day of shooting. And it's, geez, I should have really looked this up. I think it was like, they had built this set and set up all these tents, and it's like a military training base. It's before we go to World War II in the movie. Oh, by the way, the movie's called Windtalkers. I'm sure you can watch it, stream it online or whatever. I'll reserve my opinions about the movie till later. I'm going to show you some pictures here pretty soon. Yeah. But the funny thing is, the very first day, they had set up this area, which was like a training base for before going to World War II. And I remember the very first scene that I was in is the very first morning, the very first thing. And we had done 2 days of a boot camp. I've never been in the military, but it's training. And now they have like some talkie-talk scene with Nicolas Cage and some other actors. And then I'm roped in, the core group, of course, we're the ones who are supposed to be closest to camera. And we're supposed to be doing like the things where you flip your weapon around and you do like technical maneuvers like on parade or whatever. I don't know what it's called. I haven't been in the military, you guys. I'm sorry. And that was like 25 years ago. Anyways, it was like very technical. And now all of a sudden we're like right in front of the camera doing this stuff where you got to boop, 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 flip your weapon around. And I'm like, holy shit. And that's Nicolas Cage like freaking 15 feet away from me. It was wild, man. It was wild. So I'm gonna show you a couple of pictures. I got this little album. I had this little Olympus stylus zoom. This is before I had a digital camera. Man, I should have got into my first, no, I had a digital camera, but I didn't bring it with me on this. I had this Nikon 990. Yeah, this little early Nikon digital camera before it wasn't even a DSLR, it was a digital camera. And then I had an Olympus stylus zoom, which was 35 millimeter kind of instant film camera. And I kept that in my backpack when I went to set every day. And I eventually, later on, I started taking some pictures, which I'm going to show you pretty soon. That's what this album is. Hadn't looked at these in years. I dusted it off for this video. But yeah, it was wild. So we would just go out to the set every day. We shot in Malibu. We shot north of Malibu. And then we started shooting out out near where I live in Santa Clarita, California. But, you know, you come out here and out the 14, out in Canyon Country, there's like some rural areas out there. And they had this movie ranch out there. And they built this whole Japanese village. And we started filming out there. And we shot out there for a couple weeks. Now, we were told, being part of the core group, we were going to work every day for 3 months. So I quit my job at the House of Blues, my full-time job. And I quit my job at the Climbing Wall because I'm like, well, I'm making this movie for 3 months full-time. It's like, that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to make some good money. And 2 weeks, it's like 2 or 3 weeks in, they came to me personally. Like the PAs, there was the PAs that managed all the extras, and they answered to the ADs, the assistant directors. There's like the first AD that basically runs the set for the director. Then there's like a second AD that kind of handles all the extras. Then there are like some PAs under the second AD that really handle the extras, right? Which is what we were. We're the core group. We're basically extras. We get paid a little bit more than your regular extras, but we're basically high-paid extras, and we're like in all these scenes in and around. If there are people in the deep background, but we're the ones that definitely right around Nicolas Cage, right around the other actors. And should I mention who are the other actors? Christian Slater is part of Nicolas Cage's platoon. There's this other actor, Adam Beach. Now, Adam Beach is playing a Navajo because the movie's called Windtalkers, which is about during World War II. The U.S. military started using Navajo soldiers to send code back and forth, and they would send like information in the Navajo language, and it was the only, so it's like a code basically. It was the only code the Japanese couldn't break was the Navajo language. That's pretty cool. So they would embed these Navajo Native Americans in these Army Marine units, and they would send information back and forth, and so these guys would have to go into combat. And that's kind of what the movie's about. Adam Beach was the actor playing a Navajo. Now, we had an actual Navajo technical advisor who had been a code talker in World War II, and his name was Albert. And he was there, and I'll talk about him in a little bit, because I spent time with this dude, and I really liked him. We'll get to that, though. So it was Nicolas Cage, it was Christian Slater, who had been in True Romance like 6 years earlier. And the cinematographer of the movie was Jeffrey Kimball, who was also the cinematographer on True Romance, which was written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott, one of my favorite directors, God rest his soul. Christian Slater, who was also in True Romance. So that was really cool for me. And I'm like right next to this dude every day. Adam Beach, Mark Ruffalo. It was like his first big budget movie. He'd been in some indie movies, and now here he is, cast in Windtalkers alongside Nicolas Cage. Now he's gone on to be like play the Hulk in Marvel movies and stuff, but this was like his first big budget movie. I was around him every day. And then this other actor, Noah Emmerich, who is a character actor You'll recognize this dude. I'm going to show you a picture of him actually. But he was also in Nicolas Cage's Platoon. So we're around these dudes, and then they're like in all these scenes together, and then we're like kind of filling in the space around them. More beer. I didn't really prepare for this, so I just thought I'd talk about it. So a couple weeks in, we're like every day doing scenes, you know, whatever, however many scenes every day. Okay, and they just place us in there, and the technical advisors would yell at us, and most of the groups talking military stuff all day, which I don't really understand or get because I wasn't in the military. I was the fucking civilian. A lot of guys let me know. A lot of guys begrudged me because I was a civilian. But some guys didn't really give a shit. They were cool. They were my friends. Some of these guys are still my friends to this day. But production came to me personally maybe 3 weeks in. And they're like, Ben, so we just had to get rid of one of the stand-ins for Chick. Now, Chick was a character played by the actor Noah Emmerich. He's a big guy. He's a tall guy. And they're like, you're about his size, and we just think you're really professional, and we like you being around. Do you want to be a stand-in for Chick? And I was like, I don't want to be a stand-in. I watched the stand-ins. They didn't get to be on camera. They would just go out there and they would stand up, and then the focus pullers would like measure focus to them, and they'd do the lighting, and they'd figure out camera angles, and then they would f off. And then everybody else would come in and do the scene. And I was like, I won't be on camera anymore. And they're like, look, you get like an extra $15 a day or something. Hey, that adds up because there's overtime and stuff. You work long days. But it's like, and I was like, but the little voice in my head again, the same little voice that said, go talk to Tammy, the casting director. The same little voice said, Ben, do this. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. Yeah, fine, I'll do it. And now I'm not hanging out with the regular core group anymore. Now I just go to work and I go over here with the stand-ins. Now I got a whole new group of people I'm working with. It's kind of crazy. Well, cut to the chase. Less than a week later, they laid off the entire core group and most of the extras. And they're like, yeah, we have the rest of the movie to do, and it's mostly just small scenes with the actors, so we only need the stand-ins. Had I not said yes, I wouldn't have worked on the rest of the movie. But I'm going to start showing you pictures now. Yeah, that's just me in a general Marine outfit early on. Here's some more. I'm so young, you guys. I'm so young. Here are some of the core group. This guy on the right is Johnny Roca. He's got a YouTube channel and he YouTubes about movies. Him and I have been friends for years. We talk on social media occasionally. I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel. Here's a whole bunch of dudes, whole bunch of extras like playing Jenga and shit in a tent, just waiting to work on camera. This is like what the days are like. The movie had like a budget of like 115 million or something like that. Here's me next to a World War II era tank. So now I'm working with this whole other crew, like a bunch of stand-ins, and how it works is like We go in, we've all got these little name tags that say which actor we're standing in for, and everybody, like Nicolas Cage has got a guy. He's got a guy actually that is his own, he's got his own personal stand-in. This guy does like all his movies with him, and he's this guy named Marco, who was like some Greek dude. Looked vaguely like him, was the same height. I don't know. Did all Nicolas Cage's movies. I think I have pictures of him in here somewhere. Here's Marco with the mask on, because it's like really smoky in the morning. Sometimes we're like doing these battle scenes and they're doing bombs and stuff. Here's a bunch of Japanese soldiers. And then there's me below with like some prop dead bodies. It's a war movie, you guys. Here's some more dead bodies. Now I'm with this new group. When we show up in the morning, there's like a stand-in for every actor. We're there before the actors. We go out. The director, John Woo, really famous dude, puts us in the right place. The cameras get in there. They measure focus. They do their movement. Now, he would orchestrate all these battles and these situations, and he'd have like 7 cameras going. And there'd be like a steady cam, a camera on a dolly, cameras on long lenses with tripods, big cranes swooping in, and he would just orchestrate all these crazy scenes. It's almost like ballet. John Woo's like a visual genius. So we'd get out there, we'd rehearse all the stuff, block it out, then the actors would come in and they would shoot it. Here's all the stand-ins. You can see there's me next to Marco, who's Nicolas Cage's guy. And then the guy next to me is the stand-in for Adam Beach. And then the guy next to him, Rob, is the stand-in for Peter Stormare, who was also in the movie. Peter Stormare from Ooh, that beer is making me burp. Peter Stormare from Fargo. This is me and Noah Emmerich, who was the actor that I was the stand-in for. The cool thing about this was, although production said we're not really doing any major battle scenes anymore, they were still doing battle scenes. They just didn't need extras. They needed stunt people. So they were doing close-in stuff. So, like, this is wild, you guys. Like, right away I realized that this actor that I was standing in for, Noah, he wanted a little more. So he would come in and he would just kind of put his hand on my shoulder and be like, all right, Ben, what's going on? And I would be like, I had already been out there standing in place, walking through the motions and everything, and they'd be measuring focus on me. And the thing is, like, I started understanding this process and seeing how this work was getting done. It was getting done by like just regular blue collar dudes wearing blue jeans, getting out there with their hands, getting dirty. And I was like, this doesn't seem like it's anything like real fancy movie people are doing. These are just real working people who have skills, but it's like blue collar work. And I was like, it actually opened my mind to understand the process as something that it just made it feel more accessible. Does that make sense? And then Noah would come in and be like, Ben, what's going on? And I would be like, all right, so you're gonna get out of the Jeep. This camera over here is getting your close-up. It's like 100 feet away. It's on a super long lens. Then you're gonna walk. There's a steady cam. Then this comes in, and I knew all this because they measured me, and I would explain that to him in super detail, right? And then usually what he would do is he'd be like, oh, great. He goes, you do the movement. I'm just gonna watch. When the camera rolls, I'll step in and do it. So I found myself doing rehearsals with all these actors. I would like walk through a minefield with Nicolas Cage, with Christian Slater, with Mark Ruffalo. It was nuts. And then I would step out, the actors would come in, they'd do a rehearsal, I would rehearse with them, then I would step out, then Noah would get in and they would shoot it and they would get it done. Day after day, it was amazing. And, you know, I was pretty serious about it. I was pretty focused, and I think production respected me. Let me show you a few more pictures. I just kind of thought like, I felt like, oh, now I'm where I belong, with these people who are actually making movies, who are actually doing things, who are actually affecting things. And I kind of thought, okay, when this is all done, I'm just going to get picked up. I'm going to do more movies. This guy on the top is the stand-in for Christian Slater. I can't remember his name. I think it was Peter. And that's me in the bottom. One time on like a lunch break, I went out and like kind of like reenacted or just like play pretended some battle scenes. I took some pictures of them doing some stunts and filming like a stunt actor getting blown up. So that's me like 26 years ago, 25 years ago. This is early 2000. So yeah, it's just over 25 years ago. Crazy. So I did this. I worked every day for like 3 months. Made more money than I'd ever made in my life. Like, it wasn't that much, like looking at it, but it was like every day we'd work super long hours, so you get paid overtime. After like 10 hours, you get paid more, then you get paid more, then you get like meal penalties if they got to push for lunch. It was all union. That stuff just racks up. At the end of it, I had more money in the bank than I'd had in a long time. And I just thought, oh, I made all these new friends with production. I'm going to roll off. I'm going to do more movies. This is great. This is what I'm doing. And that was pretty foolish. You shouldn't think that way, you guys. You got to roll off of opportunities like that and roll into something else. Because the phone didn't ring. The phone didn't ring. Nobody was going to bring me on. You just got to go out and find your next job. You got to go out and find it. So I hung out and I thought the phone would ring, and I was kind of looking for other things, but like nothing really happened. I'm rock climbing all the time. The money started whittling away. Rent, bills. Cut to 3, maybe 4 months later, I don't have very much money left. I go rock climbing one weekend. There's still snow on the ground up in the mountains, but I go up to Mount Williamson. If you remember my last video, the pictures I showed. I go up to Mount Williamson with my friend Chuck, who was the one that taught me how to use all these World War II era weapons. So I go up there with him and another friend, and there's snow on the ground, and we're going to do some early spring climbing. And we hike in. It's like a mile hike in. We're trudging through the snow. I bring an ice axe, and I want to show them how to self-arrest on a snow slope. There's still all this crusty snow. Again, it's spring. We're up at high altitude. Even in Southern California, there's snow. So I demonstrate to them how to slide down a snow slope with an ice axe and self-arrest. And right when I'm coming to a stop at the bottom, my heel digs in, my body keeps going, and pow, I break my leg. Yeah, I'm at the bottom of a steep hill. I'm a mile back in the mountains. They're way up at the top of this hill looking down on me, and they're like, "What's going on down there, Ben?" I'm like, "I broke my leg." They're like, "Nah." "Yeah, I broke my leg." I knew. Like, throw me down a rope. They throw me down a rope. I tie into it, and I crawl up on my knees with my broken leg dangling. We get to the top. They're like, "You sure it's broken?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's broken." Okay. These guys are not as big as me, and they're not capable of carrying me out, and I'm not capable of walking. My leg is broken pretty bad. I knew it. It kind of twisted and snapped, my tibia and fibia. So I crawl out of there about a mile. And now I'm thinking as I'm crawling, shit, I don't have hardly any money in the bank anymore. I don't have a job. And now I have a broken leg. What the hell am I going to do? My leg's so gnarly. I can't even sit in the chair. So I lay in the back of my friend's SUV, Chuck's SUV. He drives us down out of the mountains. It's pretty quiet. I get home to my girlfriend. I hobble up into our apartment. I'm like, wow. She's like, what's wrong? Yeah, I broke my leg today. I'm like, wow, I'm in trouble. I don't have very much money left. I've put myself in a pretty sticky situation. I mean, it's been a pretty cool first year in LA, and now here I am, a year plus out of this. It was like March or April. I got almost no money in the bank. I got a broken leg. I got no insurance. She's like, that's nice. I'm pregnant. Yeah. Year 2 was pretty wild, you guys. It was pretty wild. I don't know if we're going to get into that. That's a deep story. But I'm still here. I'm still here. Thanks for watching. Maybe if I continue this, we'll go back in time. We'll go back to when I'm 6 or 7. When I lived way off the grid. No electricity. No running water. Far from anything. No television. No telephone. It's been a crazy journey, you guys. It's still unfolding. It's still coming full circle in a crazy way. Yeah, let me know what you think. What do you want to see next? Thanks for watching. Staley out.